Every conversation is a test, and most men fail before they even open their mouth. Not because they're cruel or careless, but because they're predictable, safe, forgettable. They talk to be liked, not to be felt. They chase approval instead of attention. They chase comfort instead of curiosity. But here's the truth. Modern women aren't moved by politeness. They're moved by presence, by tension, by that unspoken electricity that says, "I see through you." They don't crave words. They crave weight. And in a world drowning in small talk, the man who knows how to speak with power, without begging for it, is the man who dominates without raising his voice. This isn't about charm. This isn't about lines. This is about verbal domination. Subtle, surgical, unforgettable. And if you stay until the end of this video, you'll discover 7 Machiavellian conversation shifts that make women feel your presence before you even touch them. Because as Machiavelli would have said, he who commands the mind commands the heart. Most men talk to finish a sentence, but the powerful man talks to start a thought. He doesn't speak in straight lines. He speaks in curved ones. He doesn't try to end conversations. He tries to open loops inside her mind that she can't stop thinking about. When you learn this, you stop being the nice guy she forgets and become the mystery she obsesses over. Let's begin. Shift number 1. Speak like you're planting seeds, not finishing sentences. Most men speak as if they're trying to reach the end of a paragraph. They talk in logic, structure, and conclusion. They're focused on sounding smart instead of feeling powerful. But a magnetic man, he knows something deeper. He knows conversation isn't about completion. It's about creation. He doesn't fill the silence. He shapes it. He lets the space between his words do the heavy lifting. Listen to the rhythm of his voice. Slow, intentional. He hints. He implies. He pauses. He creates gaps that pull her in. Because tension lives in the space between words. Women don't remember everything you say. They remember how your words felt when the air got heavy and her pulse slowed. In a world overflowing with notifications, texts, and podcasts, what she craves most isn't more noise. It's silence that means something. When you stop rushing to prove yourself, when you let your pauses breathe, she starts to lean in. Her mind starts to wander. Her curiosity awakens. And soon, she's not just listening to you, she's feeling you. Machiavelli never wrote a book on seduction, but if he had, he would have written this line: "Power belongs to the man whose meaning must be deciphered, not explained." So stop explaining, stop oversharing, start implying. Say half of what you mean, and say it with presence. Because when she has to decode you, you become a puzzle she wants to solve. And once her mind locks onto that puzzle, her body soon follows. That's the difference between being heard and being felt. So tonight, when you talk to her, don't fill the air with facts. Plant questions in her mind instead. Because curiosity is the root of attraction. And remember, the man who controls the rhythm of silence controls her imagination. Now that you've learned to speak like a mystery, let's take it deeper. Because true influence doesn't stop when the conversation ends. It lingers. It haunts. It grows in the dark like a seed she didn't know you planted. You see, most men try to impress her in the moment. They want to be funny, charming, or interesting. But a Machiavellian communicator, he's not chasing the moment. He's building memory real estate. He's leaving something behind that echoes long after he's gone. Shift number 2. Plant emotional anchors. Leave thoughts that echo Machiavelli once wrote. The strongest influence is not seen in the moment of speaking, but in the silence that follows. That's the essence of this shift. When you talk to a woman, don't aim to entertain her. Aim to rearrange her thoughts. Don't try to be unforgettable by being loud. Be unforgettable by being strategic. Most men speak to be remembered. The powerful man speaks to be replayed. He drops ideas that don't end when the conversation does. He speaks in ways that make her question herself, not in confusion, but in fascination. So instead of saying something ordinary like, "You're interesting," you say, "You seem like someone who hides a lot of depth behind that calm tone. I can't tell if it's peace or control." Boom. Now her mind is triggered. You didn't compliment her beauty. You challenged her perception. You created a question she can't shake off. And here's the beauty of it. When a woman can't resolve how she feels about you, she starts thinking about you. And thinking is the seed of desire. So plant emotional anchors, a sharp observation, a curious question, a playful contradiction. Make her stop and think, why did that feel different? Because she's not used to men who leave her mind racing. She's used to men who vanish the second they stop talking. Remember? If you say something basic, she forgets. If you say something extreme, she resists. But if you say something that slightly bends her worldview, she obsesses. And when she's brushing her teeth later or lying in bed replaying that moment, that's when you've won. Because now you're not in the room, but you own space inside her mind. That's Machiavellian mastery. Not noise, not validation, but mental possession. Shift number 3, control the frame without fighting it. Now let's go darker, because in any interaction there's always a battle, a silent one. For control of the frame is the invisible energy that defines who's leading and who's following. It's not what you say, it's how the conversation bends around you. Most men lose this battle instantly. When a woman teases them, disagrees, or tests them, they get defensive. They explain. They argue. They react. And the moment they react, they hand her the power. But a Machiavellian man never fights for the frame. He rewrites it in silence. When she challenges you, you don't tense up. You don't flinch. You redirect. Example. She smirks and says, "That's kind of arrogant of you." Most men panic. They apologize. They argue. But not you. You simply smile and say, "Maybe. But tell me, what do you usually do when someone doesn't give you the answer you expect?" Boom. Now she's disarmed. You didn't defend yourself. You flipped the mirror. You didn't fight her frame. You replaced it. That's called frame control by redirection. It's not dominance through aggression. It's dominance through elegance. Machiavelli would have whispered, "Never meet opposition with noise. Meet it with redefinition." So when she tries to pull you into her emotional game, you stay still. You breathe slower. You hold your ground. Your calmness says everything her words can't. And that's when the real shift happens. She stops testing you and starts trusting you. Because deep down, what women crave isn't a man who wins arguments. It's a man who never loses himself. When she feels your unshakable center, her body softens, her guard lowers, and the conversation transforms. It's no longer about who's right. It's about who's in control. That's you. So now you've learned how to leave a mark that lingers and how to hold power without saying a word. But in the next part, we'll go deeper into how to build worlds inside her mind, how to tell stories that make her lose track of time, and how to turn silence into seduction. Because words may fade, but imagination never does. By now, you've learned how to plant emotional anchors and how to control the frame without ever raising your voice. But the real art of verbal power lies in what happens next, when you stop talking about yourself and start guiding her imagination through you. Because a modern woman, she doesn't want more facts. She wants feeling. She wants escape. She wants a story she can enter. And the man who can build that kind of mental world, he doesn't need to impress her. She's already inside him. Shift number 4. Stop explaining. Start building movies in her mind. Most men use words like tools. They build sentences. But a Machiavellian man, he builds worlds. He doesn't talk to inform. He talks to immerse. He knows that the fastest way to a woman's heart is through her imagination. Because the imagination is the bridge between thought and desire. When you tell her about your life, don't list details, paint them. Make her see what you saw, feel what you felt. Let her smell the rain in your story. Let her hear the silence in your struggle. Don't say, "I learned to trust myself more after my divorce." That's logic. That's lifeless. Instead, say, "I remember standing outside that empty apartment in winter. No furniture, no sound, just a mattress and the smell of cold air. That's when I realized I could rebuild everything, except who I was before." You see the difference? One is information. The other is transformation. When you speak like that, her mirror neurons fire. Her body feels what yours once did. And now she's no longer hearing your story. She's living inside it. That's emotional possession. That's what Machiavelli meant when he said, "He who controls imagination controls the heart." So here's your next move. Build a vault of 3 to 5 personal stories. Moments of pain, triumph, change, clarity. Not to impress her, but to reveal gravity. Keep them raw, visual, and emotional, but never too perfect. Because perfection kills connection. Vulnerability, told with calm confidence, is what makes you magnetic. Tell these stories slowly. Hold eye contact. Let silence breathe between your words. And watch her body language change. Her legs cross. Her breathing slows. Her eyes soften. Because she's not just attracted to your story, she's falling into your world. And once a woman's mind enters your emotional world, her body won't be far behind. Shift number 5, make her chase the silence. Now let's move to something most men never master. The power of silence. Modern men talk too much. They overshare, over-explain, overprove. They're desperate to fill every second of air, thinking value equals volume. But the Machiavellian man understands the paradox. The less you speak, the more you're heard. Because silence is pressure, and pressure builds tension. And tension is the language of attraction. When you talk to a woman, pause. Let the air grow still after something meaningful. Say half of what you want and let her curiosity finish it. Example. Instead of saying, "I like confident women," you stop at, "I like women who," and then smile. Let her wonder. Let her fill in the blank. Now her mind is working for you. She's chasing the meaning you never gave. That's not manipulation. That's magnetism. Silence is a mirror. And when you master it, she sees herself inside your stillness. Machiavelli would have said, "He who reveals himself fully gives away his power." Let her hunger for the rest. So don't rush to fill every moment. Speak less. Let your eyes, your posture, your calmness carry the weight. Because when you slow down, you create contrast, and contrast creates focus. When she realizes she can't read you completely, she starts trying. When she can't predict you, she starts pursuing you. And that's the secret reversal. The moment she begins chasing your silence instead of you chasing her approval. So far, you've learned to shape tension with silence, to pull her imagination into your stories, and to plant emotional hooks that echo after you leave. But in the next part, we'll enter the deepest level of psychological control, where you flip the dynamic completely. You'll learn how to make her crave your approval, how to become the prize in her eyes, and how to leave her obsessed with your mind. Not because you demanded her attention, but because you became the only man who truly sees her. Everything we've talked about so far has built to this point. You've learned how to speak like a mystery, how to control tension, how to anchor emotions, and how to make silence your ally. But now, we step into the most dangerous kind of power. The kind that flips the script completely. The kind that makes her chase you. Because the truth is, most men spend their lives trying to earn a woman's validation, but a Machiavellian man makes her earn his. Shift number 6. You subtly let her know. You are the prize. This shift isn't arrogance, it's standard. It's quiet confidence that says, "I know my worth, and not everyone gets access." See, most men validate too soon. They tell her she's beautiful before she's even shown depth. They shower her with praise for existing, and then wonder why the attraction fades. But the high-value man, the undeniable man, He withholds approval, not as a game, but as a natural reflection of self-respect. He's not impressed by surface, he's curious about substance. When you first meet her, don't rush to compliment her. Study her. Notice how she speaks when no one's listening. Watch how she handles small frustrations or interruptions. Then, maybe, after she's revealed something rare, grace under pressure, genuine curiosity, emotional intelligence, you let your eyes soften and say quietly, "Now that is actually beautiful." That one moment hits harder than 1,000 compliments, because it's earned. Now, she's not thinking, "He likes me." She's thinking, "What does it take to impress him again?" And just like that, you've shifted the frame. She's no longer the evaluator. You are. Machiavelli would have said, "The privilege that is hard to win is the one most deeply desired." You're not being cold, you're being deliberate. You're teaching her, without words, that your attention isn't cheap, that your interest has weight. And in that moment, something changes inside her. She leans forward. She tells better stories. She reveals her real self. Why? Because when she feels seen but not owned, she starts craving your approval like air. That's psychological gravity. That's attraction through restraint. Shift number 7. You upgrade her mind. Now we come to the most powerful shift of all, the one that makes you unforgettable. Because true desire doesn't come from lust. It comes from growth. The woman may desire your body, but she becomes addicted to your mind. And here's why. When a man helps her see herself differently, he becomes a mirror she never knew she needed. Most men talk to impress. The Machiavellian man talks to expand. He asks questions that no one else dares to ask. He notices contradictions she didn't even hear in her own story. He challenges her, but gently. He pushes her to think deeper, but never preaches. Example, she says, "I don't trust people easily." You reply, "That's interesting. Is it that you don't trust people, or that you don't trust your ability to choose the right ones?" Silence, reflection, impact. That's how you upgrade her mind. Not by teaching, by revealing. When she leaves the conversation feeling more self-aware, you've already won. Because now, you're not just the man she flirts with. You're the man she learns from. And that, right there, is what modern women secretly crave. Not another smooth talker, not another compliment machine, but a man whose words expand her world. Machiavelli would have whispered, "He who sharpens her thoughts, sharpens her hunger." Because when you become the man who challenges her assumptions, who awakens new perspectives, who makes her feel seen and elevated at the same time, she can't forget you. You become the echo in her mind when she's alone. You become the standard by which she measures every man after you. That's not seduction. That's evolution. So now, you've crossed the line between conversation and control. You've learned what most men never will. You don't chase. You don't perform. You command. You speak less, but get listened to more. You move slower, but make her heart race faster. You don't try to be chosen, because you've become the standard she measures others by. This isn't game. This isn't manipulation. It's presence. Grounded, strategic, magnetic. Because the man with gravity doesn't fill space, he defines it. And when a woman feels that, she doesn't want options. She wants you. Not for what you say, but for what you are. Stable, clear, decisive. A man who doesn't need to raise his voice to change the room. So hold this identity. Protect it. Live it. Because from this moment on, you're not just another man she talks to. You're the one she hopes will choose her. And fears she might not deserve. If this message opened your eyes and you're serious about becoming the man who commands respect and desire, check out my book, The Undeniable Man, Built to be Chosen. It's not fluff. It's a Machiavellian guide to attraction, leadership, and power. For the men who want to dominate their love life and their world. And if this video spoke to you, don't keep it in your head. Write a comment. Say what part hit you hardest, because clarity comes from reflection, and growth begins when you speak it into existence. Hit like. Share this with a man who needs it. And remember, we're not just building attraction here. We're building minds that don't break. Dark Psychology. I'm Amelia. Until next time, stay powerful.